Welcome back to Collectors versus Creators podcast. I'm your host, JG Collects. And unfortunately, today, no statues. I just came from a peace rally. I should have prepared a little bit better. But hey, it is what it is. Next guest we will have. And my guest today, I have a very talented brother here, man. Golden Tree Publishing. He's a comic animator. How you doing today, bruh?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How was the peace rally? How did that go?
It went great, man. It was something I always wanted to be a part of. It was something near and dear to my heart because I have a troubled past where I did a lot of things in the community, but to spread the awareness of gun violence and peace is something big to me.
Cool, cool. And you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
And what area are
uh,
you holding down?
Homestead. I'm from Homestead, but right now I'm in New Jersey, living in New Jersey. But
Okay.
I'm originally from Homestead. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's good. It's holding down Homestead. And then what made you go out to Jersey? Because Jesus Christ.
No, my wife is in a PhD program out here, so we moved out here in 2022. So we've been out here for about a year and a half, year and some change.
So what was that transition like going from Pittsburgh to Jersey?
It's different, man. Yeah. It's different for sure. Bro, I definitely prefer Pittsburgh, but everything is just mad crowded and expensive out here, bro.
I bet, but Pittsburgh's no better. But we're gonna get into you yourself as a comic how creator. How long have you been doing this?
Uh, I guess about going on 10 years. I started my first book, my manga, King of Sweden, maybe around 20, let's say 2011. But the first iteration of it uh, really didn't like meet my expectations, so I didn't put it out. Kind of revamped it, redid it, and like officially had put it out the first chapter of it like in 2012, and that's kind of where I kind of really got started, you know, uh, making comics and manga, um, kind of like around then, and then kind of just been doing it ever since.
That's dope. I do have to ask, what about it originally didn't you like that you didn't want to put that out?
It's just like the quality. Um, the story was fine as far as that goes, but it was like the artwork, the lettering in the book. So like the word balloons, things like that. Um, it just wasn't. I didn't feel like it was up to the standard of the things that I read. You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
like, well, I didn't want to put it out like it. I didn't want to put that out, knowing that I could make it better, which is what I did.
I like that. A lot of people would just want to throw stuff out there. You want to make sure your craft is a little perfected before you even get that out there. So, what is the story about anyway?
So King of Sweden, Last Bloodline. It's about a king. It's like a fictional world. It's like a fictional world. And in this world, there's 13 countries. The royal bloodlines are all connected directly to the life force of the country. And so, if the royal bloodlines were to die out, basically the countries become barren wastelands, unable to inhabit life. But the catch is that the royal bloodlines only have the ability to have one child. So if you have one kid, you can't have another kid. So it's like those kids have to be protected, at all costs for the most part. And the story takes place 2 years after the assassination of the main character, King Hidame's daughter. So he's been scrambling, trying to figure out a way to pass on his bloodline, or when he dies, basically his whole country dies with him. And so that's kind of what the story's about.
Wow, that definitely sounds like an interesting story. And then, where did the inspiration from that come?
Uh, I guess I came from just a lot of things, like just inspirations from like Full Metal Alchemist, Game of Thrones, um, you know, various like fantasy, Lord of the Rings, things like that. So it's really very much a fantasy style manga. Um, and that's kind of like the inspiration. Like even the main character, he's designed like just like as the homage is he's designed to kind of look like Hohenheim from Full Metal Alchemist. Um, but that's kind of like the inspiration for it. And then obviously just thoughts like I'm thinking of what would be a good story. You know, what's something that's different that I kind of haven't seen before that I would like to see. Um, and also a little bit of science too, because there's like some science in there. You know, it goes over like biology and genetics and things like that. And so we put that in there as well, and all that kind of combines to make the story.
That's dope. And most importantly, you're a Full Metal Alchemist fan. I love coming across fans of Full Metal. That's
Yes,
one of my
yes,
favorite
sir.
series of all time. Brotherhood
Uh,
and the original. And then
yeah,
just listen.
both.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, yeah, both. No, both animes are great, um, and it's actually dope that both, because they veer and they have two kind of completely different endings, but both are dope. I'm a Brotherhood guy.
Yes,
I love
sir.
the original, but both are dope. I definitely, um, watching the first iteration, the OVA, is what got me then into reading the manga. Because at that time it was like you're watching it on Cartoon Network, and they start over randomly all the time. And I'm like, yo, I can't start over on this. I got to get these books.
Yeah, certainly. And then speaking of books, is this your only one, or do you have other comics you've worked on?
Yeah, I have a number of comics that I have out now. I have Eita, which is like a samurai tale. It's about a young samurai in his quest to become lord. Essentially, his whole clan gets wiped out, and he's like right there at the beginning of the story. So these aren't spoilers. He's like right there, about to become a lord. Only he's on the wrong side of a losing battle. The legendary battle Sekigahara in Japan, which is what basically what united Japan under the Tokugawa shogunate. He's on the losing side of that. So his story starts at the loss and him trying to build his way back up to become a lord again.
Oh, I definitely want to check that one out because a lot of people don't like start their story off from the L perspective. They kind of have like some middle ground, or they're just like some weakling, some type of that. But that definitely sounds interesting. And have you been like a comic fan all your life, or is that something you came to later on in life?
Definitely been a comic fan my whole life, but not like I probably didn't really I got into manga maybe when I was like in middle school, but like initially I would read like old like Archie's, Calvin and Hobbes, like those like comic strip style comics. And then I read a lot of books. So like I was mostly like a prose, like just reading mad books all the time, like crazy. And then I kind of started getting into comic like manga and stuff around like middle school with like I saw Fist of the North Star. I think it had come on like back in the day. They had like USA. I think it's like a TV station, USA. It's like TNT
Yeah, you're definitely
USA.
showing your age saying that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
USA
Yeah,
Saturday
yeah, yeah, yeah.
morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like one night, my brother just like I woke up in the morning and my brother was like, "Yo, I saw this crazy cartoon. There was blood and everything." Like, because that's not something that was really out like that. And I thought he was lying. I was like, "Are you lying, dog?" You know what I mean? Like a couple like days later, it came on again. I was up. He's like, "Yo, this is what I was telling you about. It was Fist of the North Star." Um, and so like that's kind of what got it. Then we like go down to Blockbuster and all that and rent all these like, animes. And then I'm like, oh, these are based off of books. Then I get into the mangas.
Man, we was taking a walk down memory lane in that conversation.
Like,
USA
yeah, yeah.
Blockbuster. I'm like, God
That's the
damn, I'm
right,
getting
yeah,
old,
go
man.
way
Like,
back, way back, way back.
man, RIP USA Network, man, Street Sharks,
Yeah,
Mighty Max, all that,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah,
And then
yes, sir.
as you were saying in middle school, a lot of people I always ask this question, how was it like being either a comic fan or an anime fan growing up? Because back then, well, not for me particularly, but for a lot of people, they were shunned and it was kind of like frowned upon. You were made fun of, that kind of stuff. So how was it for you?
Oh, that was never really not an issue for me, but none of my friends was really into that. It was basically just like me and my brother that was into that. But none of my friends were into that. But it was never like a issue. Like, you know, people knew what I had varying interests. Like people always knew like I was into science and books and all that. And it also helped that I was like real good at sports and stuff too. So like, you know what I mean? So it's like I never really had like nothing, no issues like that, but people just wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about. And they didn't want to have the conversation with me. Like like the homies would be like, yo, what are you talking about, yo? You know what I mean?
It's amazing people don't want to expand their horizons when you sit there and say it out loud like wow. So I want to get into back to your comics. So you start doing these books, you know, at what point do you say like maybe I should start selling these and like gravitating into like maybe going into these convention space?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think like part of it is you want to get the stories out there. So it's like you want to get like if you're telling a story, you know, obviously like you can write a story for yourself. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you can make your comic book and just do it. That's something you want to do. Like a lot of people do that. I just want to get this comic book out or this manga out. I get one issue out, and that was the goal. But like for me, I wanted to tell a story. I wanted people to read it and like it and kind of get the enjoyment from the story that I get from reading stories, you know, other people's stories. So like to do that, you kind of have to, you know, go through the channels of putting your comic out there. So like when you're first starting out for me, like, you know, there's no class on these things, not really. You know, I guess if you went to like an actual like art school, like the Kubert school or something like that, maybe. But like for me, I'm just cutting my teeth. I'm looking like, how do I get it on Amazon? How do I get it on like some of these manga sites, you know, webtoons, things like that. And then so I'm like doing all that research. And then, you know, eventually it's just like, okay, so I mean, am I gonna give it for free? Am I gonna sell it? But obviously it's like, you know, I'd like to try to do this full time, you know, so I'm gonna sell my books. So that's kind of like the process. Like it's like it starts out, there's the creative end, and that's like honestly, when you're making comics and things like that, like if you're an artist or a writer or whatever, usually that's the easy part, right? It's like telling the story, then you got to like turn into a businessman, right? Because it's all you too. It's not like you're going through a publisher who's doing all the marketing and all that for you. So then you got to put your business hat on and decide like, you know, the prices and how you're going to distribute. And that's a whole other thing, you know what I mean, outside of the story world. But that's kind of how I got into just like the distribution is I started with Amazon and I started with eManga, were the first two places I put Last Bloodline because that was the first comic that I had. You know, now I have Eta and I have Unicorn Melee as well as Power Twin. So I have other titles, but the manga was the first thing. And so like that's kind of how it all got started.
Now, when you first put your stuff online, how long did it take you for you to see that first sale?
Not long, really. But it's really like the scale. Like I probably I put it out, and then the first thing I did like for that is like on Amazon, I did like they have like a promo, so I did like a free 5 days download, like as a sample chapter, and then after that, you know, this is just like the digital version. So you know, it didn't take me long to get like my first sale, but it's just like, you know, you get two or three sales, you feel pretty good. You know what I mean?
I know you feel pretty good.
And
You
then it's
start thinking
just,
like, oh, forget doing a 9 to 5, baby. This is it right here.
oh,
So,
no, no, not off the, not off the $3, $4 you get for sure. But
hey,
it's like, but it's a
some
start, you
people
know
get
what I
that one
mean?
sale and they think that.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting to know that somebody's willing to purchase, you know, but more importantly, like the first thing I'm thinking too is like somebody purchased it. I'm like, I hope they like it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's kind of that thing too, where it's like, you know, I hope they enjoy it, enjoy the book. And you
Now,
never
have you
really
been?
know, especially go ahead.
Oh no, I was about to say, have you vended at cons?
Yeah, so I've been doing conventions for maybe 5 years now. I'm usually at Three Rivers Con each year, but now, you know, I'm out of town. But I actually think that's going on this weekend in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's
But
happening
like,
right now.
yeah, yeah. So I'm usually there. I was there last year, um, but I do like different conventions, usually up and down the East Coast. So like Awesome Con, we did I did Otakon with Ray's Arts last year. Um, what's some other ones? Heroes Con, which is in Charlotte. Um, but usually like those were the main ones that I'll do, to go there and sell the physical copies of the book and try to just kind of market my stories and things like that. But cons are fun, man. They're when it's different going and being a participant than it is being a vendor in a booth. Because it's really like it's a day's work, really, but it's good to kind of interact with people.
Yeah, I do want to do a little deep dive on the con experience, especially you being a vendor, because I do have a lot of up and coming comics, a lot of vendors. So I do want to like actually talk about like what it's actually like in the process that goes into it, because a lot of people don't know about how much you have to pay for a booth, how much crap you
Right.
have to deal with. So like if you can speak about like your first experience going into that, what was it like?
So honestly, I think the first convention I ever did was Three Rivers Con, and they were doing it at the Century 3 Mall, like, because everything was basically shut down in there.
Oh,
So
that
they
was
rented out
years
like,
ago.
yeah. So that was a while ago. That was the first convention I did when they did it up there. And I guess they rented out one of the old like it might have been like Zales or whatever the old department stores were. It's all emptied out, and they set that up for the cons. And I mean, that was a pretty seamless experience. I think the mistake I made in that one is I bought instead of doing Artist Alley, I bought a vendor booth, but I only had like one book, so I didn't have like so like I paid more money for the space, which was a larger space, but I didn't have enough stuff to fill it up. So like, that's something to, you learn kind of as you go at times. So like for anybody who's watching or listening that's gonna do a booth, um, that's something that you can not do that I did. So like, because I basically just had one book and an empty table. Because I had two tables, whereas like Artist Alley, you usually just get one table, and that would have been more appropriate for me. But some conventions are good, man, and some are bad. Like it depends. And also you don't know how well you're gonna do at a convention. Like there's been conventions where one year do really well, and the next year maybe not so well. I've had people at the table next to me. I went to Heroes Con in Charlotte one year, and the people next to me, they didn't sell. They had good quality books. They were doing like children comics. They were good, but they didn't have like one sale the whole weekend. So they just like didn't even show up on Sunday. They just left because they were coming from like Alabama or something. So like, it's kind of the give and take with cons because you gotta pay money to get your spot. If you're traveling, where you gonna stay, right? You do a hotel, um, transportation, food, right? So like, you got to factor in those costs from a business side. Um, and, and also then like, you know, how are the people who do the convention? Like, I don't like, there was one convention where it was just like, they were treating the vendors so bad. Like, I was like, yo, I can't believe like they treating like, we paid our money. Like they're like nickel and diming you. Like you get one seat even though you've got two badges, then it's like, oh, you got to rent the extra seat. So it's like, I don't make no, you know what I mean? Like little stuff like that. And or like you ask them like if they got a trash can or something and like giving you attitude, like different, different conventions, treat their vendors different ways. So like, that's something that you have to think about too. Like for me, generally, I try to find places where I know people at so I can stay with them when I go. And generally that I can drive to because that just cuts down generally on the cost of the conventions. Um, as far as like, kind of trying to get your, make enough sales to make some money at the convention when you sell your books and stuff. So like those are all things that you kind of have to factor in, working as a artist or vendor or whatever when you're doing conventions.
That is true, and then like preparation is definitely key. And one thing I want to chime in just from a media standpoint, from me going and seeing what a lot of the vendors go through, definitely ask where their artist alley is located, because some people will have the artist alley all the way in the back, and then they'll have the regular merchants where by the time you get to artist alley, people don't spend a lot of their money. You got a lot of people who just like will get cast off to the side. Some tables can range to $300 to $400. I talked to a lot of vendors about this, and you
Yeah.
might not have that spot all throughout the con, and it's definitely tough, especially when you don't break even. Now, you were talking about like days you didn't break even. Was it discouraging to the point where you didn't want to do this anymore, or was it just more motivation to try something else?
No, you know what I mean? I feel like just because like it's like sometimes you win some, you lose some kind of attitude, right? Like sometimes you, especially at cons, like sometimes you have success, sometimes you don't, where it's like um so not I wouldn't say it's discouraging. It's always like disappointing if you don't like, especially if you don't make your money back at a convention. But the one thing, like the one saving grace, even if you like have a bad convention for me, is at least if you can collect like emails and things like that. If you can get a bit like a nice solid list of emails and contacts while you're there, right? That's part of it too, right? Because those are people then you can continue to reach out to. So that's important too. Like if you're an artist or a writer, is to make sure even if you're not getting sales, have like something people can sign up, like their email. You know what I mean? Things like that, so you can reach out to them after the convention. Um, because yeah, it's definitely like not ideal when you don't even make your money back. But the saving grace can be like if you've at least made some contacts and you've got 50 to 100 or so emails of people that you can continue to reach out to when you have new things coming out and stuff like that. It's kind of like you know can be the saving grace versus just like going to a convention and it's just not it's just bad and you just go home. You know what I mean? Like you didn't sell that, you take all your stuff home and you don't have really much to show for it. But I feel like that's just gonna happen. Like sometimes you're gonna have a good convention, you're gonna have a bad convention.
Yeah, I've actually seen some vendors in the middle of the show just look at the show and be like, you know what, this isn't going well, and just leave because of how things were going. And I want to touch on the business aspect for a second before I go into your animation stuff that you do. Now, how much do you put back in from the sales that you make from a con to the next one?
Yeah, so I mean basically I put everything back into the comics. Like I don't like honestly like I can probably it's probably like a break even or even maybe a little bit uh in the overhead because generally like any sales I get I'm putting to the side to either um usually yeah I'm just putting to the side to make more comics, trying to get to the point where it is scaled where there's something left over, but generally like, just investing it back into what I'm trying to do. I mean, that's really kind of what it's about. I don't really put anything aside for myself because I mean I do have I do work a job, so all the comic stuff stays with comics right now. So it's like anything I do, I'm gonna use it to make a trailer or to work on the next book. All of it kind of goes back or put it aside for the next convention and stuff like that. So like basically, I wouldn't take anything out for myself, like to like buy some new shoes or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna do that. I'm putting it all right kind of it all goes right back into the comics.
Reinvesting in yourself is definitely important. And people, y'all heard what he said. He still works a job. Just because you do this vending or social media stuff, you still have to have some type of 9 to 5 to maintain for yourself. And now your animations, how long you been working on those?
So the animations, that's something new that I actually just started maybe less than a year ago. I think like October, November, because I was just trying to like think of ways to advertise. So I did like the little, basically motion comic trailer for Ata, the Samurai Tale, and then I have like a mini movie for my graphic novel Unicorn Melee, which is kind of recaps the story because I've got Unicorn Melee 2 coming out, and we're kind of doing a Kickstarter for that. like a crowdfunding campaign in August for the first chapter or issue of that. So like that's just something that I kind of got into. I came, and this is too like this is like kind of reaching out type of thing. I would just watch this guy. He does motion comics on YouTube called the Russian Comic Book Geek, and his sound quality and everything was always great. And I was like, yeah, maybe he could do something like that for mine. So I just reached out to him and was like, yo, this is my idea. You think you could do it? And he was like, yeah, I can do it. Um, but so basically, he kind of put like that trailer that I sent you for Ata, that he did that, basically kind of put that together. I told him what I wanted. I gave him basically the dialogue, the script, and all that, which is basically just him reading the words on the comic. And then he'll kind of put that together. And then for like my Unicorn Melee like mini movie, same guy, but then I'm also took the next step. It's actually like that's like I have a version of that I'm using now, but there'll be another version where we're adding more motion and stuff to it, like more actual like animations to it, that hopefully I want to have done before we launch the Kickstarter, because that'll be like the video for the crowd fund.
That's dope because I was definitely going to ask you like because I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, this is fire. I was going to ask you, did you do the voice acting? But I'm seeing that it was him.
No, yeah. So he like that. Like sometimes you just got to see like this. I'm sure he doesn't really make any money for what he does, but he tries to find the right people to do the voices and stuff for all his things. Sometimes he does some of the voices or do the voices himself, but yeah, it definitely was not me.
Yeah, because I was like, oh
Definitely
man,
that's not my
at first
talent.
originally I'm like, oh man, bro got the anime and the voice acting. Oh, he is multi
Yeah.
talented. But hey,
Hey, bro.
that's dope. That's dope that you
Yeah.
reached out to somebody and found them. So what's next for this story?
So right now we have issue 4 coming out. And actually it'll be out next week on our website, goldentreepublishing.com, for ATA. So there's 3 other issues. You can pick everything up. All the digital stuff is just 99 cents, but it's issue 4. And then we'll probably have issue 5 out in September and issue 6 out in December. And then we'll do 7 and 8, which will conclude the story in 2025. So that's kind of where we're going with that story. It's just an 8 issue kind of miniseries. Definitely check it out if you're into like anything samurai, lone wolf and cub, that type of stuff. It's kind of in that realm. Heavily inspired by this manga called Shikuri, which is I think in English it's called basically Shikuri Death Frenzy. I don't know if you ever heard of
Yeah, I heard
that.
it.
It's like
It's a crazy anime.
it's crazy.
Very
Yeah, yeah,
gore,
yeah, yeah.
very gory.
Yeah, very gory. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not my book's not gory that gory, but definitely that was one of the main inspirations for the story. Um, Basically, the main inspiration, the part of it is like the way it's written, because it just if anybody's gonna check it out, the anime only has 1 season, and there's a lot more story after that. So you got to read the manga. It's just hard to find because I don't think there's many English translations, but you can find them out there somewhere.
Oh,
But
that
the
is.
inspiration, what's that?
Oh, no, I was about to say that's tough that they don't have that.
Right, yeah. My cousin went to Japan, and actually, because he knows I like that, he bought me a bunch of the books. I asked him to, but obviously they're all Japanese. I can't really read them, but but it's still dope to just have them. But the main thing with that story too is like the way it's written. It's like you're kind of rooting for the main character, and you're like against a character, and then you're not rooting for them, and the character you hated, now you're rooting for them, and it's like back and forth the way it's written. And that kind of aspect was kind of the inspiration for like what I'm doing with Eta, the Samurai's Tale.
That's dope. And you also mentioned your branding, Golden Tree Publishing. What made you even come up with that title for that?
So, Golden Tree Publishing, it's just like kind of idea that everything's on paper. You know what I mean? Paper comes from trees, and then the golden part is from my artist on King of Sweden, Last Bloodline, and Unicorn Melee, the graphic novel, the first one. It'll be a different artist for the second one, but his name is Brian Golden, and he's got some dope webtoons out there, especially stuff for like kids and and women and things like that. But his last name's Golden, and I felt like, yo, he just did me like a real solid to make this first manga. Like he really kind of blessed me. Like I'm kind of like it's weird, right? Because it's like it's almost competitive, right? So like I wrote the story, but I'm like, yo, sometimes like I write something in the artwork. I'm like, yo, the artwork is killing me. Like as far as like he killed this artwork, he just like improved the story 100%. Just from like killing the art, you know what I mean? And it's like, yo, okay, so I got to level up with my writing, right? You know what I mean? I want to kill him. I want to, you know what I mean? So like that's kind of where the name came from. It's just like that combination of Brian helping me get a really strong start uh, into the kind of comic manga industry, and then obviously, like I said, we try to put everything on paper, and we try to just have like a golden standard to everything. You know what I mean? Like at the very least, that what we're getting and we're passionate about, and we're putting our best out there.
Hey, that's dope to have a somebody next to you, because friendly competition does make you better. I don't care what anybody say. You have to compete with somebody if you want to get better. And then so you say you're working with other artists. So if anybody's seen you and they wanted to like collab with you, would you be open to it?
If I have a project, yeah, especially like artists. You know, I'm not really publishing anybody else's stuff. And the main reason for that is just like I tell, because people do reach out like through my website and stuff and at conventions where they'll say like, hey, will you publish my stuff? Because they see Golden Tree Publishing. But really, that's just like the business side of what I do. It kind of separates, the individual me, Madison, from, you know, Madison writes the comics, but the business Golden Tree Publishing sells the comics and does all that. So it kind of creates a layer of separation for me, even though I'm operating as an individual. But like people will ask me like if I can publish their comics, and I'm like, really, right now, all I would be doing is taking your money because there's nothing I can do for you that you can't do for yourself. You know what I mean? Like I just be
Mm-hmm.
doing things that you could easily do yourself, with a little bit of effort. Um, with that. So it's just like one of those things. But for artists, if I have a project, I'm always looking. Like right now, I'm looking for an artist. Actually, I'm looking for a manga artist for a project that I'm hoping to start next year for a new manga I'm gonna be starting, which I think is gonna be so dope. But I can't get into it right now because we still got a lot of stuff. I'm actually gonna be working with Ray's Arts, fleshing out the story and things. But for artists, yeah, I'm always looking. Even the artist you doing Unicorn Melee too, he was one of the people who was auditioning to do Eita, the Samurai Tale. End up going with a different artist, but he just kind of stayed in contact. Let me know when you have something coming up, and I was like, eventually, last year he was like, I'm, do you have anything coming up? And I was like, yo, actually, I do, and I think you'd be good for it. So there's that part too. Like as artists, even if you get a no, like just stay in touch. If you're still looking for work, that just keep reaching out.
Hey man, that's definitely I love it. So do you have any artwork or any comics you want to display for everybody real quick?
I don't have anything to display. Can I share a screen and then I
Go
can
ahead.
show? Would that work?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me get the right thing here. And I can show a couple things. Trying to find. It's not letting me
Don't you
share
just
the
love when that
rights.
happens?
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to like. I think we're here. Oh.
I'm just happy when you showed the screen.
So
Ain't nothing crazy pop up.
yeah, no. Yeah, no, I got you, bro. I got you, bro. I already know how it goes. Yeah, you need to say, yeah, you're taking a chance. But no, like, yeah, so if you want to check out what I was talking about as far as the manga, so what I have on my website, goldentreepublishing.com, um, can this be seen? Can you guys see this?
Yeah, we can see this.
Okay. So this is actually chapter 4 of the manga, and this is free on the website. So obviously, if you get volume 1, it's chapters 1 through 3. And then, obviously I put this up so that, if people like volume 1, but they want to kind of see where it's going before they invest in getting volume 2, I put this chapter up for free. So this is, you can find this on our website. It's the full chapter for Last Bloodline, Chaos Last Bloodline, chapter 4. And that's kind of one of the books we have. And then we have, another book, show Eta, which is our samurai story. And this is kind of the artwork for this. Takes place in, feudal Japan in the early 1600s, right at the beginning of the shogunate, Tokugawa shogunate empire. And these are just 99-cent digital um, that you can get as well. And then obviously we also have Unicorn Melee. So we have Unicorn Melee Maneaters, which is going to be the sequel, and we're working on that right now. These are some of the characters. This is Rami. He's like a forge wizard. Shad and Jinky is like their Unibird that kind of tags along with them. But this is some of the artwork as we're just in the creation stages of it right now. But we're kind of previewing some of the artwork. But you can see all this on our website at goldentreepublishing.com, and you can also get our books here. So like you can get Unicorn Melee, the first story, as well in digital or hard copy on our website as well.
Hey, y'all heard all that. Y'all see the pricing. Y'all see the artwork is fire. Also, I want to definitely give a shout out to Ray Arts. He did my first interview. Phenomenal brother, phenomenal talent, man. And is there, before we get up out here, is there any events that you're doing that if people want to come up, meet you, get your stuff?
Not this year, but definitely next year I'll probably be at Three Rivers Comic Con, which I actually wanted to do Otakon this year, but it looks like I don't know what happened with their vendor setup, but they didn't reach out, so I'm assuming that the tables got filled up before I could get there. But this year, no. Also got a baby on the way, so gonna be pretty busy. Can't really
Yeah. Hey,
do too many
congratulations
conventions. Yeah, thank
congratulations
you.
on that. Is that your first one?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be in for it though, but congratulations, my man. For people who want to follow you on social media, you want to give that to everybody?
Yep. You can catch us at goldentreepublishing.com, Instagram, and Facebook is Golden Tree Publishing, as well as Twitter. And then on YouTube is Golden Tree TV, and you can also check out, we got a little gaming channel, Golden Tree Gaming. I just do some live streams there. We have a live stream called Crazy for Death, which is basically just me getting killed in various games that are super hard, like Elden Ring or Aliens Fireteam, stuff like that. So you can check us all out there.
Y'all heard all that? I'm JG Collects. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe on this video. I got Golden Tree Publishing, and like that, we out.